Hello chess lovers, Surin here, and in this video I would like to share with you a very fascinating game from the recent chess.com titled Tuesday. This game was played between Hikaru Nakamura and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Now let's see what happened on the board. Nakamura opened up with d4 and knight f6 by MVL, c4 g6, knight c3 and d5. MVL goes for Grunfeld defense, c takes d5. We have the exchange variation, knight takes d5, e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, bishop g7 and bishop g5. This line has been seen a lot of times during their previous encounters as well. Especially I remember that during the last Speed Chess Championship they played this line a lot of times. Here MVL proceeded with c5, rook c1, white is indirectly protecting the pawn on d4. We have castling king side already. Black wants to munch the pawn on d4, that's why we have d5, knight d7, c4, knight f6, bishop d3, h6, bishop d2 and e5. A bit strange looking move, although I guess MVL is still in his preparations. Instead of playing e5, actually the engine is suggesting b5 in order to challenge white center straight away, and if c takes b5 then e6. This gives black great chances, but in our game after bishop d2 we have e5, knight e2, and as white has a protected passed pawn on d5, the knight is coming to blockade that pawn. A passed pawn is a criminal which should be kept under lock and key. You know how it goes: bishop c3, queen e7, queen d2, f5. With this move black is freeing his position and is trying to create attacking chances. G takes f5, f4, white is stopping black's further advancement, e4. In return, black also managed to gain a protected passed pawn. We see the exchange of dark squared bishops on g7, bishop b1, b6, a3 and bishop d7. After playing b6, it would have been logical to bring the bishop on a6 square, but in our game we have bishop d7, and later we will see that MVL has different plans with this bishop. He's going to bring it on a4 square. Rook c3, king h7, black is freeing the g8 square for the rook, rook e8, bishop a2, rook e7, knight g3, bishop a4, rook c1, and queen d4 check, queen e3. Of course, white will never allow the c takes d4. That's why in our game after queen d4 check we have queen e3, rook g8, and now black is starting to bring his rooks on the g file in order to put pressure on white's king side. Rook g1. White is starting to organize his defense, but actually it was better first to neutralize this bishop. Bishop b3 could have been a good idea, but in our game we have rook g1, rook g6, knight e2, queen g7. Already there is too much pressure on g2. We have queen f2 and rook g4. Instead of rook g4, there is a very powerful bishop d1 move, which gives black great winning chances. The idea is to capture on e2 and then win the rook. Now if you play rook takes d1, then the rook is no longer protecting the pawn and black can play rook takes g2. In here the best move is queen h4, and after rook takes e2 black has a huge advantage. By the way, after rook takes g2, if you try to save the knight, then you can step into this checkmating line. Or after bishop d1, if a move like rook c1, then this time e3 is very strong. If queen takes e3, then rook e8. Let's go back, but in our game after queen f2 we have rook g4, h3, rook g6, king h2, queen f6, g3. Black is still looking for weaknesses in white's camp, but still black has an advantage, and rook g4. Instead of playing rook g4, it was better to keep this g4 square free for the knight. In our game, only after rook c1, MVL decided to bring the knight on g4. Knight g1, of course he lost a precious time, queen e1, rook g7, knight h3, and knight g4 check. King h1, not a good move because this allows black queen to get activated with a check. it was better either to play king g2 or king h1, but in our game we have king g1 and now comes queen d4 check, king h1 and e3. Already there are some very dangerous threats like knight f2 check, bishop b1. Instead of playing bishop b1, if knight g5 check, then in this case black can go for rook takes g5 and then queen d2, and again black is winning. In our game we have e3, bishop b1, and there it goes, knight f2 check is on the board. Knight takes f2 and rook takes g3, a powerful move. Bishop takes f5, and this is a critical position where MVL made a mistake and played king h8. Actually, it was very important to play king h6, because after queen e2 already the pawn on h5 is protected and black can cold-heartedly capture on f4. But in our game, after bishop takes f5 check, we have king h8, and in return Nakamura also made a mistake and played knight e4. I guess they were already under a terrible time pressure, that's why these mistakes occurred. The move which could allow white to equalize the game was queen e2, and now if queen d2, then white can win the pawn on h5 and then can start giving a perpetual check. But after king h8, Nakamura missed his chance, played knight e4, and in here MVL made a move and white resigned. Can you find the winning move for black? Ready? MVL simply captured on e4 and Nakamura resigned. The idea is to lure away the bishop which is covering the h3 square, and now if bishop takes e4 then rook h3 and we have a brutal checkmate on the board. A very impressive checkmate, I think. That's why after queen takes e4, understanding that it's over, Nakamura resigned. A very nice attacking game by MVL. Unfortunately, in the end, he made this inaccurate king h8 move, but all in all, the game was interesting, filled with tactical ideas. Thanks for watching, I hope that you enjoyed this game. For more games, consider subscribing to my channel. Also, press the bell button to get notified about new uploads. I will see you in my next video.